Welcome to our next episode of
Fandom
Family
Chats.
This is a production of Family Fan Clubs on Facebook. You can find us all over Facebook. You can find us all over social media under Fandom Family Chats. Look us up, get dialed in, get plugged in, and get ready to listen to some crazy people talk crazy stuff.
Hey, I'm Jeanette.
I'm Amanda.
I'm Eve.
Tonight we're going to be discussing, first we're going to be discussing This Is Us, Season 6, Episode
4.
4. Yeah, Episode 4. Which is kind of a Jack heavy episode, you know, which was nice to see. So
It is a very Jack heavy episode. We're pretty much just telling the entire story of when Jack's mom died.
mhm.
I don't know about you guys. I remember the episode where his dad died,
Yeah.
but I did not remember that if it was before or after his
I
mom.
didn't either.
And I was like, I don't know if they made that clear to us. Is this
I don't think they did. I think this was a surprise. I don't think they had ever said whether his mom, I mean, we assumed, you know, by the time the kids are grown, she had passed away, but I don't think they had, you know, said anything before that. So I didn't know either.
There were a lot of pieces in Jack's storyline that I found to be like very what's the word? Like there were a lot of plot holes. There were a few plot holes I found in Jack's story, which I guess we can talk about a little later. But it felt very unlike This Is Us to have some of the plot holes I noticed. I was
You know,
lost.
I noticed that too. And like I said, we'll dive in. I almost wondered if it was on, because it's not like This Is Us to be like that. I almost wondered if it was on purpose, just because like this was Jack's episode. So I feel like pulling in other things would have taken away from this being Jack's episode. And so that's kind of how I took it, that this, you know, they just didn't worry about the other stuff because it was about Jack. And that was really all it was about.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll go ahead and touch on it now.
Yeah.
A lot of people were asking, where is Nikki?
Yeah.
Because you would think in some part of all that,
Mhm.
even like I was like maybe when he was little, but again, I can't
Yeah.
remember how far apart they are.
Well, I think, yeah, I looked it up because I was curious about that. They're 4 years apart. So if we're thinking Jack is, I don't know, what, 6 or 7 here, Nikki's probably taking a nap. He's not out playing in the snow, and he's probably not allowed to eat hot dogs and tomato soup yet, you know, because he's
Yeah.
like a baby. So I think that's probably where that was. And as far as the other part, I mean, I know that Jack knew he was alive because a lot of people were kind of confused on that too. But did he know where he was the whole time?
I don't think so.
I don't
I
think
don't
so
know
either.
I don't know if he did.
I'm not sure exactly.
My whole thing was that say that the whole family believes that he's dead. Like, let's say Jack convinced his parents that Nikki's dead.
Yeah.
I just found it interesting that no one even mentioned him.
Yeah. And that's the part that I think we just weren't focused on Nikki. I think we were just focused on Jack and how he was dealing with all of this. I don't know. It didn't bother me because I was focused on Jack. And I mean, I love Nikki and all, but I don't want to sound mean. I didn't care where he was. Like this was about Jack and his mom and, you know, the trauma that they had lived through. And so it didn't bother me, but it did a lot of other people.
See, I didn't really notice it until the end when I was kind of like, you know, thinking about the episode in my head.
Yeah.
I was like, oh man, they didn't mention Nikki at all. And then I kind of just like went past it.
Yeah.
But in our group, people were
Mhm.
really distraught about this.
And I think it's very possible that someone did call Nikki. We didn't see that on screen. Nikki was, even if they did know how to get a hold of him, I think during this point in time, Nikki was in no position to come to something like this. I mean, he had a drinking problem. He was depressed. He was a hermit. I mean, it didn't surprise me that he didn't come.
I mean, he was in a bad way when Kevin first found him.
Yeah.
So you're right. There's a good chance that he was in no condition to even process what happened to his mother in the first place.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, it didn't bother me so much that Nikki wasn't a part of it. I was kind of just wondering, it's like, oh, I wonder where Nikki was. But I found it interesting that the biggest topic of discussion in the group was, where's Nikki? It was like,
Yeah.
I think that's because everyone loves Nikki so much, which I love him too. So like I understand
Mhm.
that. And I think that's why people were, but I was okay with it being just about Jack. I mean, he's our
I don't know. I think I
patriarch
would
and our
have liked to
character.
have some like more Jack and Nikki younger
Yeah.
days time.
Yeah. But I
You
think
don't get that too often.
we really don't. We really don't. But I think as far as them as kids, I think it really was that, I mean, Nikki was probably too small to go out and play in the snow.
Yeah.
I mean, if there's 4 years, I don't know how old Jack was supposed to be. I thought he looked around 6 was my guess.
That's
I
what
would've-
I was thinking that.
Yeah.
I would have
It's like
guessed
between
like
6 and
maybe
8.
5. Yeah.
Yeah. Which means, Nikki would have been 3 or 4 or 2, somewhere in there. So he's probably not out playing in the snow and stuff. So
Yeah.
so I
Makes
just assume
sense.
he's taking a nap, that's where he was.
But speaking of Jack as a little boy, that whole like sled moment, and then that moment with his mom eating the
Yeah.
tomato soup and the hot dogs, just that whole scene was, I don't know, it was just so sweet.
It was. And even when she talked about it, like later on when she mentioned that hot dogs and tomato soups, and it's like he didn't remember it. Man, that hit me as a mom too, that like, here he doesn't even remember that moment, but she does so clearly that she knows
Yeah.
that was his favorite snack. And I'm like, like I was thinking to myself, don't argue with your mother. She knows what your snack was. Even if you don't like it now, eat the tomato soup, just do it.
And it's not even like he just said, oh no, I don't remember that. He completely dismissed her and made her, I don't know, treated her like she was being crazy.
Yeah.
Like, no, I never
Yeah.
liked that. It was Nikki probably, not me. What are you talking about? It's
Yeah.
like, just eat the dang hot dogs and tomato soup. If
Yeah.
my mom came to my house and wanted to make me some food, I'd be like, give me whatever you think I like.
Well, and I
Yeah.
think that's what was so heavy in this episode was just that the trauma for both him and his mom was so strong that, I mean, it completely kept them from having any sort of like real relationship, which is really sad, so even after she left his dad, he was still haunting them, and they couldn't have a relationship. She couldn't even focus on hanging out with her grandchildren
Yeah.
because she
That
was
whole
so
part broke
worried.
my heart.
Watching her little hand shake, just how nervous she was just to be in the same town as him. It was heartbreaking.
Yeah, it really was. And a lot of people in the group were complaining too, like, oh, she could have gone to
Like, they
him a
could've-
lot more, or he should have gone to her a lot more.
Sure, but
I mean, honestly, when she passed, those kids were what, I think 5, maybe.
I think
Were
they
you
said
guys
5 or
thinking?
6. They were in kindergarten. Yeah.
So that 5 or 6.
Hmm.
Those first few years of life with triplets, can you imagine traveling with a
Exactly.
car full of triplets?
That sounds
I-
like a punishment to themselves. Like,
Yeah.
who would do that?
Yeah. I just,
Well, and I think it had a lot to do with, and I think I commented, I don't remember if it was in our group or other This Is Us groups, we're all talking about the same thing. But I think it was like, I mean, it was the trauma. And, a lot of people that grow up in situations like that, they want to just sort of disassociate completely once they're out of that. And I know it wasn't her that abused him, but probably being around her brought back all those things. And I think Jack just wanted to just not think about it and not, not being around her just brought it all back for him. And so I think that was part of it.
yeah, I think he was protecting himself just as much as she was protecting herself.
Yeah. And it's
Sadly.
sad. And we can see that he clearly regretted that later, but the people that don't understand that, consider yourself lucky, because that means you probably had a really healthy childhood that you don't have to understand how that would feel,
Yeah. Yep. So,
And he did mention that in the eulogy too.
yeah.
It was nice.
Yeah.
He was saying, what was it he said? He said something about how, when you leave that house, you don't want to go back to that house or something. I think he was just talking about not wanting to go back to that place. So
Yeah.
unfortunately, as wonderful a person as I'm sure his mother was, she just brought up bad memories of his
Mhm.
childhood, which is awful, but
Yeah.
I mean,
But
it is what it is.
I do love how they made the Sunday at 6 o'clock phone call.
Yep, they did it, and that was I did wish he would just talk to her a little more. But then, I mean, like we
Yeah.
said, he did have 3 babies at home. I mean, I don't know.
Working
Everything's
a lot. And that's what he was kind of drinking
yeah, yeah.
a little too much. He was
In
kind of starting
hindsight,
to drink a little too much during that time as well.
yeah. And hindsight's always 2020 on these things. I mean,
Mhm.
there are times when I think back to my grandmother, who I have a wonderful relationship with, or did have a wonderful relationship with, but sometimes you're busy and they would call and you blow it off. And, now that she's no longer with us, I mean, I absolutely regret that, I
Yeah.
mean, but it happens,
It does. And
Yeah.
it's real life. And that's what's so great about the show. That's why everybody likes the show, is because
Mhm.
it shows a lot of real life. I know we'll move on to Jack and Rebecca next, but I do have to say, I like how supportive Rebecca was,
Oh my gosh, yeah.
like throughout this whole thing, and like when she even answered the phone
Mhm.
and saying thank you for the scarf and everything.
Mhm.
Man, she's trying.
Oh
This-
yeah.
And his mom it was harder for her, I think.
I felt like that part was a tad awkward to watch because Rebecca was just like, oh, thank you so much for the scarves. But then it felt like she was being like over dramatic about it, kind of the same way I'm over dramatic about, thanking my colleagues because I want to teach my kids manners. So it was just interesting the way she said it. I was like, it was just so over the top, like, thank you so much for those scarves. And then she just yelled, Jack.
Yeah, well, poor woman, man. She was in the middle of cooking dinner, and here she was trying to be graceful and nice, and she's like, Jack, come get the phone.
Like she's dropping the phone and, a baby and making dinner. And she probably was supposed to be holding another baby too.
Yeah. It was,
I don't envy that situation at all. That doesn't sound.
no,
No. But she was so supportive.
she was.
I love when they're good.
Hmm. I mean, even the black suit, because I mean, they didn't have a whole lot of money, and the idea of him going out to buy a new suit was probably a lot, but
Yeah.
she was with him, he's like, it's my mother's funeral, I need a black suit, and she didn't argue about it. She just, okay,
That's
and
what you need.
yeah, Rebecca's always so good at these things. Like,
Yeah.
she's pretty awesome. But I knew she was going to show up at that funeral. I was just waiting. I was like, you're going to walk through that door. I just know it.
Yeah.
Because you could hear it all over his voice that he obviously needed her there,
Yeah. I don't know if I feel like my focus was too much on if his butthead of a father was going to show up.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's where my brain was. So when she walked in, I was like, oh, okay, that's a nice surprise.
Mhm. And God love Rebecca, because I mean, think about what that trip was like. So like, and I was like, I wonder how you got there, because didn't they only have like the one car? I don't know, weird things go through my mind. Like, I think about like, how'd you get there with those 3 kids? Like, and then you got home all together. Did you
Bus.
like, I don't know.
Probably took him on a bus or a train.
Yeah. Whew.
It was just funny how she walked in like with the kids and she was all calm. She's like, okay, guys, sit right over there. I'm like, you've just been in the car for Lord knows how many hours with 3 5-year-olds. How are you so calm right now? I don't know. Maybe she, maybe she had a drink before walking in, but she was
because she's Rebecca Pearson, and
she was a little too calm for someone who'd just been in a car for possibly a few hours with 3 5-year-olds. I would not have been that calm. I would have been like, you sit down and don't talk to me.
And don't let her fool you. She just totally threatened their lives before walking through those doors.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I believe it.
Better smile and you're gonna sit in there.
You're not gonna make a sound. Yeah, no.
You're gonna be cute and you're gonna sit there and say nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Silence.
But there was the ice skating too at the end was just
Oh,
unbelievably perfect.
I know. It was so sad though she wasn't there. But seeing Mike and Debbie,
Hmm.
I was watching and I was like, this is so beautiful. And that's when I was like, this is a beautiful episode. And
Yeah.
I don't know. That's the only way I can describe it. It was just such a beautiful moment
it really was.
Now I want to say, and this is just me being super picky, how did his mom know what size skates they would need?
I don't know. And they all fit great.
I don't know why these things pop in my head, but I was like, why? Why would she know
Your
that?
mom.
Because I'm thinking my kids outgrow shoes faster than anything. So even if you told them what size, by the next month they'd wear a different size. So how did you know?
Yeah. I was like, did she like buy him like every year?
How sad would that be?
She just bought a whole bunch of skates every year, just just in case.
How awful. What if she like sensed that she was going to be passing? You know how like sometimes people can sense that stuff, like,
Yeah.
and then she went out and bought the skates so he could find them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I bet she
I don't
did.
know.
I bet she just rebought him every year. That seems the most This Is Us boohoo thing that they
Mhm.
could think of.
That's probably what happened. for
Probably
sure.
it.
Yeah.
But also kind of going back, Jack and Rebecca telling the kids that she passed was such a realistic
Mhm.
way of how kids react to death.
With the way they kept saying she's dead.
She's dead.
And I'm thinking, poor Jack, he's probably on the verge of tears over this. And they're just so, but they didn't know her, you know? I mean, and then the mittens being
The
itchy.
mittens.
I'm like,
Oh
your
my
poor grandma
God.
made those mittens for you. And now all you're doing is talking about them being itchy. But they're 5, you know? So.
And-
It is
And it
what
was
it
funny. I think Randall even was like, don't say that. Don't say that she's dead. What? She's dead.
And it was so perfect that
Like,
it's
this is such
Randall.
a realistic reaction.
Because Randall would be, I feel like, the one that would be more sensitive to the fact that like someone's upset over this. So
He would be.
yeah.
Do you think, though, I was starting to think, do you think Rebecca was planning on going the whole time? Or do you think whenever he made that phone call to her,
I think it was the phone call.
you think it was a phone call?
Yeah. I think it was. I
Couldn't-
think she could sense that this was harder on him than he thought it was going to be.
Yeah. I didn't think about that the first time I watched it. I was just like, oh, she was probably always planning on doing that. But the second time I watched it around, I listened to that phone call a little bit more.
Yeah.
And I was like, that seemed like a cry for help. I think she packed those kids up as soon as they woke up in the morning and headed out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ugh.
I kind of wonder though if she was waiting for the moment when Jack would call
She probably
and she would
knew.
needed him. So I'm wondering, like, she probably didn't say, well, I'm gonna just ignore what he says and I'm going to go anyway. But it was probably more of a, I know he's going to need me eventually. It's just a matter of
Yeah.
when he admits
Maybe
to it.
she went ahead and packed a bag just sitting there just in case we got to turn around and go. I feel like that's what I would do. Like, let's just have this ready in case I need it.
I don't know. I don't know if I would. I'd be like, no, I think he's fine.
But
That's
see,
just me
I'm too much
as
of
a
a
person.
worrier, so I would be worried the whole time, like if he needs me or not. Yeah, no, I'd be ready to go for sure.
So I did almost cry one time in this one.
Almost cry. I cried like 4 times. Which part almost made you cry?
I bawled at the end.
When
Mhm.
Jack broke down
At the
in the living
end,
room, he's like,
Oh,
I don't
Lord.
have a mom.
oh my god,
That's
that
what-
part.
Oh yeah, that's when I cried too.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
it almost
cried.
got me. Almost.
I mean, the skates, like when he pulled those out, I was all like teary-eyed. And then him at the like his eulogy had me. And there was one other moment early on that got me too, and I don't remember what it was. But yeah, there was 4 times.
Yeah, I know there was several times that I could see people crying.
Hmm.
This Is Us has some sort of mental block in my brain.
I feel like we need to dive into that. I feel like, did some traumatic thing happen to you that is causing
don't
you to
know.
not allow
Yeah.
emotions to come through on this show? Like,
It's just this show.
it's interesting.
I cry over commercials.
That's
I
what
am a
makes me
very
worry. Like, what is it about this that you won't allow yourself to feel it? It's
I
weird.
don't know. The only time I ever cried, I remember, we've talked about this, is when Kevin lost the necklace.
That was the worst moment, though. Like, that's the one that stands out
was-
to me.
That was so hard for me. And I was like, oh, that B better give that back.
Exactly. Well, I
got
cry
so
almost
mad.
every episode. I at least my eyes fill with tears every episode. Now, whether they fall or not, it just depends on what's happening.
Yeah, I'm not a crier, but This Is
I'm
Us
not
always
either.
gets me.
Yeah, so that's what's weird, Amanda. I don't know.
I am a
There's something
crier,
wrong
and
with
This Is
you.
Us doesn't affect me.
It worries me.
You should be worried.
We need to have you studied.
You don't want to be in this head.
We already established that, right?
I really, really don't, but I do enjoy, whatever comes out of it. We actually got to see a lot of what happened to his mom after she left, which I was glad we got to see because he did mention, I remember maybe it was a couple seasons ago or something, he mentioned he had to take his mom to go see a relative or something like that.
Mhm.
And I was always wondering, it's like, is that gonna be it? Do we
Yeah.
never hear from his mom again? So I'm glad we got to see more of what her life was like when, after
Mhm.
what was it, Ohio? Did
Yeah,
they
in
say
Ohio.
where specifically or just Ohio?
They didn't say where in Ohio. I
Yeah,
mean,
they
I'm
just said
assuming
Ohio.
somewhere northern Ohio, since we had lakes that were frozen enough to like ice skate on, because that's not.
Yeah, she had a pretty nice, life there. I mean, she had a cat and a boyfriend and she
That
had
cat,
everything.
y'all.
I
Because
felt so bad for that
you guys are
cat.
cat people too. Like, I was like, somebody better take Cat Minotaur home. Like, I thought the kids needed her because she kept going back to Jack, which I thought was so sweet. It wasn't like she was just going to that house because she wasn't bothering Debbie. She kept going to Jack like she just knew somehow.
Yeah. I was like, Jackie, can
And
you
Debbie
imagine take
said
that
it,
cat home?
I know. I wanted
and then
him
Debbie
to.
even said it again. That cat is 100% going to get hit by a bus or something. I was like,
Yeah,
"That's
by a
terrible."
car.
Well, the cat won't stay inside, so it's probably what's going to happen, But I was so happy, like, to see that his mom, because I was worried when we first started seeing her that she was just going to be such a miserable, like, just have such a miserable life.
Yeah.
But just to see her that, she had Mike and, had this life finally. Those photos that Mike showed, I mean, just the smile on her face, I felt so happy for her that years and years too late, but she finally got to feel some real happiness.
Yeah. That was
I'm so glad that Mike was a good guy because when she said, "Oh yeah," when Debbie talked about her boyfriend, I was like, "Oh no, there's a boyfriend."
Well, I know, because a lot of times people have a type, and I was thinking, oh, please be a good guy. But he
Oh, I
was
know.
the best.
He gave Jack a big hug. I was like, "Oh, okay, I like this guy."
I know, I
He
was
gave him a
thinking
hug
Jack-
and I stiffened up. I was like, ugh.
Yeah.
Why are
'Cause
you
I'm not a
hugging
hugger.
him?
But that's cool though. I mean, I think it's kind of a shame that I don't know that they didn't get to keep in touch with Debbie and Mike, because I think that could have been nice for the kids too, considering the way they were hanging out with the kids, ice skating and stuff. It was just a really sweet moment, I think. I loved Mike with his Hulk Hogan mustache, and I
did
just thought
too.
he was great.
I do too. I really like his whole character.
Mm-hmm.
And when he said, "You were her hero, Jack."
Oh,
Oh,
I mean, I teared up there. Like, imagine, we didn't talk about this back earlier either, but this broke my heart too. Just talking about all the moments made me sad here. Every time that woman would say, "Don't let me keep you."
oh,
And
I
then the
know.
fact that she did her whole funeral, she planned it at a certain time because she didn't want to have to serve a meal, because she had been so gaslighted her entire life that she felt like she couldn't be a burden to someone on the day of her funeral.
Yeah.
It's just so sad.
Yeah. It really was. It really
Just
was.
one
That
time I wanted Jack to be like, "Mom, you're not keeping me." Like, just one time I wanted him to but he, I don't know, it just made me so sad.
it did me too.
And he would just hang up so fast. Like, okay, don't let me keep you. Okay, bye, Ma. And he would just hang up. Like, Jack, wait. Like,
I know.
But we've already went over his eulogy, but I do want to, I put in the notes earlier. I was like, his eulogy was the bomb.
It's so nice and just so off the cuff because I mean, he obviously didn't really know what he was going to say until that moment, but it was good. And just watching poor Mike and Debbie out there listening to it, I mean, they had to feel so good too that, they gave her the life that she kind of always deserved,
Yeah. Oh, he came through. True Jack Pearson.
Of course he did.
His
I knew
way,
he would because I'm like, who makes a better speech than Jack Pearson? No one. Like, I knew he was going to do
it. Speaking of, can we talk about Debbie's poem?
What about it?
The song. Okay, it wasn't a song. You guys know the song, like Rock Around the Clock.
Oh yeah.
And every time she started saying her poem, all I kept thinking about was 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, rock. And I did it again today, and I was singing it in my head for hours.
I definitely didn't, but now I want to go back and watch it and do it to the tune of that song.
It was just stuck in my head. And then like Ben and I kept going back and forth. I was like, was that like the Happy Days song? He's like, no, I don't think it was the Happy Days song. And so then we spent a good 10 minutes in bed last night trying to figure out the tempo, I guess.
Yeah.
This is Monday, Tuesday, Happy Days.
There it is. Yeah.
And this one's 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, rock, 4 o'clock. Rock.
Now do Debbie's poem to that tune for us, Amanda.
She goes 1 o'clock,
it's
2 o'clock, 3 o'clock.
Here, it was such an emotional and sweet poem, and now I'm never going to be able to hear it the same again.
Maybe this is why I don't cry, because this is what comes into my head.
Right, because I think I was teary-eyed during that part. So that scene, when he goes to the bar and he meets up with Mike and Debbie and whoever the other lady was that we never introduced.
Yeah.
Man, that was another moment. I feel like all these moments were so sweet and emotional. And I mean, just as he's hearing all of it, and it was just like a glimpse into this life that she had that, he just didn't even get to be a part of. And that was just, it's just also heartbreaking. The whole episode was just, but again, it was nice to see her laughing and, having a good time with these people,
I loved when it was spinning and it was spin, it was Jack, and then it'd spin again, and it was, why can't I think of her name right now?
Marilyn.
Thank you. But that was a sweet moment, but sadly it didn't end on the best of terms, because Jack went back to the house and called his biological sperm donor.
I think it was okay that he called him. I mean, I think it gave him a moment to sort of just let him know kind of how he felt about all of it. And it was so strange because his dad, which I don't remember his name, he probably did love her in his own way, in whatever way that he could. But I'm glad he did not show up at that funeral. He did not deserve to be at that funeral. And I was going to be really upset if he showed up, which I was a little curious on that too. How would he know where to go? When they said, is he going to show up? Jack didn't tell him where they were. And it's not like we had caller ID where you could see where the phone call was coming from or anything like that. So I was confused on that part.
Maybe he knew where she was this whole time.
Maybe.
And he just let her go. I mean, maybe it was the best thing that he could have done ever for her.
Yeah.
But I was more nervous for him walking through those doors at the funeral. I was like Jack, every time that door opened, I was jumping. I was like, oh, please don't be him.
If he did, I was ready for Jack to kick his butt, is what I was hoping would happen if he did show up.
And Mike
could put some wrestling moves on him.
Do your kids watch wrestling?
That was such a throwback because, man, wrestling was big then. My dad loved wrestling. We watched it all the time. I mean, I couldn't stand it, but we watched it a lot.
My dad liked boxing. Not really wrestling, thank God. But also Mike playing with the kids at the end was another just such a sweet moment.
And that's what was so sad, because we know Rebecca's dad's not exactly grandpa of the year either.
Yeah.
It would have been nice for someone like Mike to be in their life, to have
I
a
know.
grandpa figure, to do that play, to do those things that grandpas are supposed to do that they never had.
It did. It does disappoint me that Debbie and you, like, do we just never hear from them again?
Yeah, it was kind of strange. I mean, the way it ended, you would think that they would have maybe at least kept in touch, and maybe
who knows?
Jack, maybe they did too, and we just don't. They just haven't told us that. I don't know. So next week's episode, though, it looks like we're going to get back to normal a little bit, and we're going to get to see some of the big three and what's going on with them. Well, I don't know. One of the things that stood out to me in the promo is we were correct, I think, last week in that Heaven calls Cassidy to come over and help him at the cabin.
Yes, we called it. I think you called it.
I'm full on rooting for Kevin and Cassidy now. I want it to happen.
I just want Kevin to be happy for.
Oh no, Eve, you weren't on last week, so you're gonna need to tell us your thoughts here.
I'm still holding out hope for Madison.
No,
I'm not. You know
anymore.
what? I won't be upset if it's Madison.
Same.
But I think Cassidy is now at the top of my list. And then Madison. And no one else, because I won't accept anyone other than those two. So
I don't think there would be anybody except those two.
Yeah, because if you introduce some brand new person, I'm going to be mad. That doesn't work for me.
No, we need some sort of backstory, and we don't have enough time left.
And then, in the words of Deja, that's not going to work for me. What she said last week.
Speaking of Deja, it's like, I have to know what is going to happen with that dinner. And
what could they want to I don't know. Like, the pregnancy thing really stands out now, guys, but I don't think enough time has passed.
I don't think so.
But what else could they both? I don't know. Because I mean, surely you would be naive enough to think that you could go ahead and get engaged or get married. I mean, like, Malik's not that. Deja, maybe because she's a young girl in love, might think something of that, but Malik's more mature than that.
You hope so, but sometimes boys
young
think
love,
with the
man.
wrong side. So, you know, I don't know. I'm very curious. I need Monday to hurry up and come so we know what is happening here.
Yeah. And there was something else with Jack and Rebecca. Do you remember, Eve? I'm trying to think back, and now I can't remember. I just know that they were in the preview.
Miguel and Rebecca.
That's what it was.
Which I was really excited for.
Yeah, we've been waiting for this for a long time.
Yeah. It looks like they're going to go on, like a speed dating kind of thing, which I think will just end up with them dating each other, which I don't like 90s look Miguel, though. He looks weird, I think. Right?
He does.
I mean, I love Miguel. I love 80s Miguel. I even love, old man Miguel, but like something in the 90s just.
Yeah, it was the weird hairdo.
But it's the 90s, I guess. But
I went through
a phase.
I do have a question real fast, and I swear I've looked it up before, but I cannot remember the answer. Jack's beard. Is that fake? Or is the baby face fake?
Oh.
Because he was going back and forth between, I'm sorry, you can't grow it that fast.
He's had both, so I wonder if it's the way that
Santa.
Did they film it so that they filmed all the baby face scenes? I don't know. That's a good question. Because I think both are real.
I swear
and even
I looked it up before.
Stash, which I'm not going to say what I was going to call it, because you know what I'm talking about, what kind of stash it is. Like,
yeah,
looks even that. Like, how did we change his facial hair so quickly?
It's a fake beard.
Is it a fake beard?
That's disappointing. I was hoping it was real.
It said, well, this is what it says. It's an impressive fake beard, so good that it never occurred to me until last night that Jack's beard is a lie. The show uses Jack's facial hair as a timestamp. It's a beard when the kids are young. Later, he has a goatee, and in the 80s, he has a mustache. The mustache was real.
So that part you had? It's like the worst one.
Do you remember like paparazzi pictures of him walking around with the stash? I remember those.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh gosh, shave it.
Yeah, because I
Or
like
grow
the full
something more
beard.
else.
Well, that bums me out, to be honest.
I just kept wondering how it just kept going from baby face to just like
It,
full
it
beard.
never crossed my mind.
It did me.
I don't know
Those
why.
Again,
It
this
should
is what
have.
I think about.
Those kinds of things just never, occur to me.
Well, I'm gonna need Milo to grow out a beard as soon as this is over and just keep it because I like it a lot.
I like it when he kind of grows his hair out a little bit too.
I like
Yeah.
80s, like young 80s, early 80s Jack is where it's at, in my opinion.
I liked him this week.
Mm-hmm.
So I think
Yeah,
that was
well,
like young 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Early 80s Jack is where we want him.
Young 80s.
Mhm.
Early 80s.
Well, I think that covers this episode. And then joining us for our next segment where we're going to talk Lone Star, we're going to have Josh and Tiffany pop in and chat with us.
So joining us to discuss 911 Lone Star, let's welcome Josh and Tiffany. Say hi, guys.
Hello.
Hi, how's it going?
Hello.
Awesome. All right. So this week, there wasn't a lot like This Is Us. I mean, we just didn't get a ton of info. Like it felt like a bridge episode. Like it was
Mhm.
just giving us a little bit, again, like last week was like another bridge episode. It's just giving us a little bit of information by a little information, which is
It was just a whole lot of nothing. Like I got to the end, I thought, wait, I don't understand. Like that's it? That's all we get?
It's like the ice
Yeah.
storm that will never end. I'm
Yeah,
like,
that's
I
how
lived
we all
through that.
felt.
exactly.
I lived through that. That's how it felt.
They're making it very realistic here.
Like, we need to drag this out for 4 weeks because that's what it was really like.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Like, I want to know how many days has actually gone by in all these weeks that we've been watching it, because it
I
seems
think
like
it's just
2.
1 or 2.
I was gonna say it
Like,
seems like it's only
seriously.
maybe 1 or 2 days.
I know.
And I'm like, there's a lot I want to know, but nothing, we didn't get really any information. But
Mhm.
we closed one little part at least.
Yeah.
So we kind of start with this, what we come to find out, this crooked cop is looking for what he assumes is the immigrants that were in the van that he comes across. So the deputy, did you think he was crooked at first? Did that surprise you?
It did me.
Yeah.
It surprised me too. I think it was kind of introduced as like, oh great, here comes a little bit of help.
Yeah.
I felt like there was something sketchy that was about to happen. So I was like, this can't end well. Like,
There's a Grey's Anatomy watcher for you.
yeah, well, this has been very Grey's Anatomy lately with, we'll talk about TK later, but it's been very Grey's Anatomy lately. So
You're just on guard.
Well, over here, I'm still like,
Yeah.
I mean, I was still suspecting the lady that like Owen met. I still thought for sure she's involved in this. And then I guess not. I mean, I guess she's trustworthy, but
I'm still waiting for the other shoe to drop where she's concerned. She is for sure sketchy. There's something, I don't know, there's something that doesn't sit quite right with me when it comes to her. I don't know what it is. It's just
I
something.
know.
I don't
Feels-
know. I trust her.
I'm gonna feel bad when nothing's wrong with her at all. But the whole time I was expecting her to be like the deputy's partner and like she was working with. I thought for sure this is what was gonna happen, and then it didn't.
I feel like if anything, she was like good but sneaky, like undercover cop, or that was kind of the feeling I wasn't getting. Bad feeling. I was getting like she's a good person, but she's just not being truthful. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I thought for sure she was with like the cartel. That's what I thought. I really did. I really believed this.
I never got that
Really?
vibe from her. I did feel like it was a little different. I think her character's meant to kind of stand out a little bit, you know.
Yeah, we just don't know enough about her yet.
I mean, if she's really just supposed to be Owen's new love interest, I'm not really feeling it. I'm not into it.
I am.
Well, no, I don't know. Owen keeps getting these love interests. Like they start
Mhm.
something and then it goes
know.
nowhere. So I'm just sort of not invested. I'm still waiting on Gwen to come back. This is the only one that I was ever invested in.
I mean, I can see it as kind of, you know, her being the next, you know, his next love interest, but I kind of feel like I mean, he's out there obviously because he's, you know, trying to, how do I say, cope with everything that's going on, you know, trying to find himself, and maybe she's out there trying to do the same, you know.
Yeah.
That might be the vibe that she's kind of giving off, because she's not sure about who she is either.
Yeah. I mean, I guess she's a perfectly nice lady. I didn't think so. So
I don't want to like her. I think that's the problem.
there's something, I don't know, something about her bugs me. I don't know why I'm so focused on her, but I don't care
Oh,
for her.
I've liked her so far. I feel like she was a help and she can be trusted.
I
She
don't
was
know.
pretty helpful this episode.
This is like a Paul Randolph situation where I like him and you don't trust him, and here you like her and I don't trust her at all.
Well, it all
We keep going
balanced
back
out
and
in the
forth.
end.
Well, she had that ham radio, so I mean,
Mhm.
See, she's helping. Wrong computer.
Yes.
little by little, right? Yeah, I thought it was kind of cool. I mean, you know, it's interesting to see, you know, them out there in I guess, quote unquote, the hill country is, I guess, what you would call it in Texas. So it's a little bit like out in the boonies, that kind of thing. And so ham radios and long walks and you know, away from everything
Mhm.
kind of makes sense, you know. And it was kind of interesting. I know, like, bringing everybody back to his house from that barn, uh you know, in the snow, that was a hard trek. But I can imagine too, even just, you know, without the snow and everything else like that, bringing a bunch of people back to your house, I don't know if I would have done that, you know what I mean? I don't care, you know, who it would have been, you know. Just, it's like, man, that's hard, you know.
Yeah.
And then of course this guy, you know, turns on him, but I thought he handled it really well.
Mhm.
I know he faked everybody else out. I know they were thinking, we should just let this guy in the snow, you know,
Mhm.
but he moved fast and rescued him. I mean, I don't know, it was kind of one of those things where just like, she was like, yeah, I know, we should have left him out there,
Yeah.
you know. But it was interesting. I thought that was kind of a neat little play.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, Owen's good at thinking on his feet, man. He like figures it out. So
Mhm.
He's got a little bit of street smarts.
mhm. And so does Marjan, who finally showed up. I was so happy to see her. Like, I've been worried about her anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah, they haven't shown enough of her, so we finally got more of her
Mhm.
this episode.
Oh my gosh, I was scared for her for a couple of
Mhm.
minutes there.
Me too.
I was like, man, if this cop shoots Marjan,
Mm,
we are gonna have issues.
exactly.
I did like
Exactly.
her reaction though after she saw that. She was just like, oop, okay, yeah, no, this is not good, I'm out. You know, it was just like,
Yeah.
She reacted perfectly.
absolutely, it was just like, oh yeah, we're not doing this today.
Speaking of that one rogue guy just running out.
I know.
Hey, he wanted to take his chances out on his own.
Well, that didn't
Man.
work out very well for him.
No.
He didn't get very far.
But at least that let Marjan see that the guy was bad news. Otherwise, she would have probably tried to ask him for help. So that was good, I guess.
Yeah.
That was a close call.
Hmm. Yeah.
It was a blessing in disguise.
I loved how good her and Owen worked together. Like they did. I mean, he saw her, he knew exactly what she was doing without ever like, it just shows how good of a team they are.
Yeah, she
Mhm.
really, they really kind of, I guess they kind of vibed. And that was
Mhm.
you know, quick thinking on her part. I mean, rigging the car to explode. I
Mhm.
mean, I don't know if that would have been my first move. I mean, I know she tried to get the rifle out of the car, try
Yeah.
to save them. Of course, he's already inside, so I mean, nobody's paying attention to the cruiser. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I think that was kind of quick thinking. I probably would have just tried to turn it on and drive it through a wall or something like that.
Yeah.
It was a very Marjan move to just blow up the car. I was like, oh, well, of course he blew up the car. That's typical.
Mhm.
What's your
Yeah, I didn't
nickname?
understand what was going on for a
Uh-uh.
minute. I was like, wait, where is Marjan? Like, where did she go? What is she doing?
Yeah.
And
Yes.
even after I saw the scarf, I was sitting there going, what? Is she just letting him know that she's there?
Yeah, I was confused too.
Mhm.
And then
But-
once I saw like in the gas tank, I was like, okay, I still don't really understand, but whatever, let's go with it.
It stuck with her nickname. Was it Firefox?
Firefly or Firefox. Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah.
Yep.
Definitely stuck with her nickname.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was
Yes.
definitely quick thinking. I think they just kind of vibed and kind of understood what each other was thinking. And so we
Mhm.
did get a little bit of excitement this episode. I mean, we got an explosion. I mean,
That's true.
Sure.
Yeah.
I was just saying, at least we got this whole coyote immigrant storyline wrapped up,
yeah,
moving in the right direction.
Mhm.
yeah,
We're wrapping things up.
yeah. And that was kind of interesting too, because like, I live like literally like 3 miles from the border. So I was kind of like, I was like, okay, this is going to be interesting to see how they play all this out. Because, you see stuff on TV that's, it's all fake, everything is like that. But
Mhm.
no, they played it pretty well. I mean, it was quite interesting. I was like, okay, somebody did proper research.
Yeah. I'm hoping that Tommy is able to get a hold of him soon because poor thing, she is going through it with
Oh,
worrying
no.
about like all the stuff with TK. When she
Mhm.
was talking to Grace, I just felt so bad for her.
And she's
Yeah.
feeling real guilty lately, which I feel like a part of me is like, well, you should feel guilty.
You know,
You didn't
watching
even
it,
give him, like, you didn't even have any protocol for what
I
to
know.
do with him once he got out of the water.
Yeah.
you know how bad we trashed her and Nancy last week on our podcast? I felt so bad though watching this episode because I was like, oh, Tommy, I'm sorry. It's not your fault. I'm sorry I said that. Here I was like apologizing to her.
Mhm.
Oh.
Yep, I felt bad while I was watching it too. I'm like, oh man, we really talked trash on her last week.
I know we did.
Like, oh man, we were mean to her, and now she's having a breakdown. Like,
We were really worried about and grieving TK over here. We were worried, and so we take it all back. It's not your fault, Tommy.
No.
you're doing your best.
We still love you.
Mhm.
I love the conversations she has with Grace though. They seem so
Mhm.
close.
Yeah,
Grace this week, man, she went
Oof.
and she
great.
had Billy come over and you could really see that her blood pressure was getting up, I bet.
I know.
Just that conversation with him, I'm like, where's this going? She's getting very angry very quickly.
Poor
I just
Grace.
kept,
Like,
I kept thinking that she was gonna just let him help her. Like, I thought she's just
Yes.
gonna. She was no.
Yep. Nope.
I
No,
felt I
she
was
was
a little.
like, you get out. Yeah, she was like, you get out. I need to go get in my car and drive to the hospital. I was like, Grace,
She really stuck
like,
her
I know
guns.
you're pregnant and you're in labor, but let's
I
let
was
the
really
man
mad
drive to
at
the
her. Like, girl, let him drive you in his 4-wheel drive to the hospital, please.
You can
Like,
hate him the whole way there if you want. Just let him drive you.
exactly. was
I
so
couldn't drive
mad.
myself when I was in labor. There's no way.
No, no. If anybody could do it, it was Grace, though. But
That's true.
Yeah.
man, of course, if they'd been in the 4-wheel drive, they would have been able to get around probably all those vehicles.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I just really don't trust that guy at all. I mean, so I was like right there with her, like, yeah, get him out of the way.
I want them to redeem him again because I just want to go back to being able to like him. So I'm like, just do what you got to do. Get it back there.
I did grow to like him, so I'm really bummed that lately he's been, the villain. I'm like, because I was really enjoying his and Owen's friendship. That was
Me
real fun to
too.
watch. And now he's a villain. I'm like, this is interesting, but we need to move along. It's not
I
fun.
don't think he's full villain. I think we'll get him back.
No, but they're definitely treating him that way.
Yeah. So
Oh,
baby
with the little
shower-
baby shower.
I was going to say that part
Oh,
was
that's
really cute. I loved how the girl came and warned her because she was like, I don't want you to like go into labor. Which I mean,
Like
good
someone's
call.
someone's gonna surprise you with presents. It's like, oh gosh, that's a terrible surprise.
I mean,
Why
it would have
you
been
do
much better. It would have been better for her to go into labor there than at home with Billy, though. So,
Yeah, if
Yeah,
only
that's
she
true.
knew what her options were.
mhm.
Oh boy.
Dang, I could have gone to labor at the call center, when I got all the presents.
Right, that'd
Amongst
been
a
a
bunch
whole
of-
lot better.
Trained
Only-
emergency responders,
Would have been more convenient for sure. Instead of, trapped in the vehicle in a snow pile in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah,
I love the fact though that they get so many different things right. Like he's like, well, we should avoid, what did he say, 35? I think is what they were on. We could just take Mopac, and I'm like, first of all, in a snowstorm, I would never ever go on 35 anyway. It's like, I don't know why you're going down that road right now, because you would have been stuck the same way even without the snow. So she wasn't thinking clearly.
See, we have our own expert here.
exactly.
So while Grace and Billy are on the way to the hospital, they get stuck. But we did see a bit of the hospital in this episode from TK and Paul in there.
hmm
That was weird with Lindsay's parents.
That part made me
That
laugh.
was just
I
So
very
hard.
That was
odd.
so
Really,
good.
I loved it.
I was
Yeah.
laughing.
They were like, oh, well, I'm a firefighter too. Oh, really? What's your number? Like, oh my God.
Mateo,
Mateo, yeah.
yeah, he was ready, and Judd's like, "No, we're good."
Like Mateo, and I'm from station. No, we're good. We're good.
I love the look of the girl when her dad's like, you want a Maserati? And then, he's just looking over at her and she's like, mm-hmm.
No, he's serious. Yeah,
No, this is real. Like, I'm
I
sorry.
mean,
Milk cartons.
I don't know if I'm turning down a Maserati. Like,
Milk? No, just the cartons.
I'm like, y'all can buy that for me. I'm okay with that.
I love that.
The blanket.
And what he had the Rolex. Did he say Rolexes? Like more than one?
Like, I think you did.
It's so funny.
And
It's
I
like, wow,
love
we
the part
rescued the right girl.
Mhm.
too, Mateo was like, maybe you shouldn't say anything so they don't have to kill another sheep. And it's like, no, they just shave it. Oh, never mind, we're good.
Yeah. Oh, that was really funny.
Yeah, that was good.
I enjoyed that whole scene. That was it was
Mateo's
some,
one. He's one of my favorites, guys. Like,
he's
so he makes
awesome.
me laugh all the time.
I love him so much.
Mhm.
I do too. Like just seeing his face just kind of makes me happy.
Mhm.
Like
Me
I just
too.
know some kind of like comedic relief is coming.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I felt like this moment was it was a really heavy episode.
Mhm.
But they gave us like this one little part that was just a relief. Like
Yeah.
a palate cleanser if you must.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's good.
No, I thought it was very
As
Very
opposed to TK, which is
Oh,
really
Okay,
depressing.
so I have a question.
Yeah.
I feel bad I feel a little bad for saying this, but I kind of like seeing Carlos so upset over TK. I'm like, okay, well, there it is. So there's hope.
I mean, I see what you mean. Yeah.
I get it.
I was
Yeah,
like, oh,
yeah.
poor guy. I know he's really upset and he's worried, but we're getting places.
hmm
Maybe there's hope for whatever it is TK did.
I know here we all just assume it was TK, but I still think it was.
I
don't
mean,
think
I have
Carlos
to
did anything
assume
wrong.
it was TK because Carlos is Carlos. So
Exactly. He didn't do anything wrong.
I still think someone asked somebody to marry them and somebody reacted badly.
I think that's a solid, like,
yeah.
like, if Carlos proposed to TK and he got all weird or something, like, I don't know.
Because didn't the series start with TK proposed to someone and that
Yeah.
someone was like he wanted to see someone else or something? So I'm
Yeah.
like that would make sense if he was he had that memory in the back of his mind.
Mhm.
Mhm. I think so. That's just where my mind goes. It could be something
Yeah.
completely different. Who knows?
Well, I don't think either one of them cheated. I don't think either one of them would do that. So I think it's got to be something along those lines. Like,
I'm hoping not. And TK doesn't seem like he's doing very well, which is just really breaking my heart.
Yeah.
I did love his scenes though with his mama.
I know.
And only because I'm like, how perfect is it that your happy place is like baking cookies with your mom? I loved it.
I loved it because I love Lisa Edelstein. So I was like,
Yes.
oh, good. We get to see more of her.
Same.
So,
Same.
yeah,
I
but that
watched
was so
House
cute.
religiously when it was
Mhm.
like new coming out. And she was on there. That's where I met her.
I never watched that.
I love how laid back that whole scene was too, because she was like looking for the sloth or something. It's like, what happened to the sloth? Oh, Buttercup ate it. It's like, oh, that rascal.
Like what at first he said the otter, and she's like, it's a sloth, because this is what, has been like the big thing the whole time. So I like that little throwback.
Yeah, that was cute.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like all of it was pretty. It just seemed very happy and airy and
Very
Yeah.
picture perfect.
Yeah.
it honestly did confuse me for a few seconds when I was like, wait, what do you mean?
Oh, I kind of
Now he's fine?
Yeah, I was confused too. I was like, wait a minute, we skipped over the whole, him getting better and, him and Carlos, reuniting in the hospital. What is this?
Yeah. But when I think I figured it out way before this, guys, don't worry. But whenever he's like, we don't have any toffee. It's in your hand. I was like, ew, creepy. I don't like
It
that.
was weird.
Well, I kind of figured out too as soon as he said something about what's that sound, and I was like, oh, well, that's the hospital monitors beeping. Like,
Yeah. Well, it's funny. He's aware because he said, oh, we almost had this, right, or something like that. They were almost a family again.
Mm-hmm.
But he's very, very aware of the fact that I
Yeah.
think that he's in trouble, but that also that he's in this, like you said, happy place,
Mhm.
in his mind. And so it's like
Mhm.
it's almost like that point where he's either going to choose to fight or, just stay in that happy place.
Yeah.
I hope it's Carlos who somehow gets through and pulls him back. Just
It
because they're
might be.
so perfect. I don't
Yeah.
know.
I think it'll be Owen though. I think it'll be once his dad gets there that'll be able to convince him to.
Because Owen and
able to-
Marjan are on the way back because he's driving her back, right?
Yeah, but they
think
don't
so.
know anything
don't-
about TK.
Where's he driving her to?
He's driving her home.
Just
Yeah.
back in Austin, I think, because they're
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, because she's trying to talk him into still signing the letter.
It's like, great, we're gonna go sign the letter. And he's like, no.
I like how she ropes in the new girl.
I was gonna say I did like the new girl when she like decided to jump in there about the letter. I was like, okay, maybe I can like you after all.
Yeah. I think I like her. I'm
We'll
gonna
see.
stick with I like her. Maybe I'm totally wrong, but
No, you're
I'm
probably
gonna stay
right.
with it.
I like the
It's
duet in the
acceptable.
car. Marjan and Owen.
Yes.
That was so cute.
I
Yeah.
love that part too. It was
Fine.
cute.
Well,
Jeanette, have you seen the promo for next week?
finally going to see the final part of this. That was a lot of finalies, but I'm just really sick of this long drawn out ice storm.
Yes.
Because I got to
hope
the
it's-
end of this and I said, holy cow, it's four-parter. This is so we finally get to see an end to this nightmare.
Mhm. I
Hopefully.
hope so. I mean, I'm assuming I don't think we can drag it on more than 4 episodes. That's a lot.
No.
Well, Shelby sent a screenshot of the description, and it seems like they're going to be done with the snowstorm after next episode.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
That'd
that's
be
what it
good.
seemed like. Is they're gonna be done with it.
Yeah, that's kind of what I saw mostly. And there's something about Carlos. The only part that Carlos says something about like it being the end and not being able to hold your hand, which that part's kind of like,
Yeah.
I don't like that.
Mm.
But Owen gets there, and then I guess it looks like Billy and Grace find some sort of shelter somewhere.
Oh God, Billy's gonna have to deliver this baby.
He is, and I think this is going to be like the upswing to his redemption somehow.
I hope so.
That's what I'm thinking too.
But it looks like they're all out in like the fire truck, so I'm like, are they all like Are they driving the fire truck to go find them? Is that what we're doing? That's what it looks like, I guess.
We're gonna have to cover a whole
Probably.
lot
That would make sense.
in the next episode.
Hmm.
You know, they have quite a lot to wrap up still.
Wrap it up.
I know. Wrap it up. We've been doing this for a few episodes. I'm kind of over it.
Move on. I miss the 911 sound.
Yeah, me too. I just realized we hadn't heard
Yeah.
that.
I've noticed in Lone Star, we don't hear it near as often as we do in regular 911.
Yeah.
Because regular 911, we have like several. We're always in the call center.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like with 911, we're never really in the call center very much unless we're talking to Grace.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
So it's just, I don't,
I didn't
that's
pay
why I
attention.
like regular 911 more than Lone Star, but I still love the Lone Star too.
Yeah.
You know, you're right. It's
Oh.
funny because I think maybe they were trying to make, you know, the city, you know, a character in itself, you know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, guys, I think that covers it. Definitely come check out our Facebook groups. We've got a lot of really fun stuff going on. We've got 30-day challenges in most of them. The This Is Us group is This Is Us Pearson Family Fan Club. And then the 911 group is just 911 Family Fan Club. Check those things out. Next week, The Resident is back too. So our next episode will be, we'll be discussing all three of those. So Lone Star, This Is Us, and The Resident. So it should be lots and lots of fun. So make sure to come back and check that out.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Have a great one.
Bye.